don't give a shit today. Why should I? These movies didn't give much of a shit. Motion pictures. This medium that I love, adore, and respect as far as my uneducated mind can muster, deserved so much better. We as audiences deserved better. But in a world full of winners and losers, one cannot exist without the other. And talking about the losers, indeed, makes me feel better about myself because I am a gargantuan prick that nobody likes. Guilty as charged. Let's not beat around that bush. By God, I'm such a loser. But I guess I'm in good company because this loser is going to talk to you about the cinematic losers of the year. The worst of the worst. My least favorites. This is my honest bottom 10 films of 2021. Before we kick this off, here are a few honorable mentions for worst dramas. I'm Your Woman. Husband goes missing after kidnapping a baby? Why question anything and accept no answers until much later? I'm Your Woman, here's my middle finger. American Skin. When all you want to do is point out that racism is bad without adding anything new to the conversation or a tangible solution to the problem. This can suck my American foreskin. Midnight in the Switchgrass. I love Megan Fox and Emile Hirsch, but dear sweet Jesus, is this one of the most boring and frustratingly bad thrillers I've seen in a while. No wordplay for this one. I didn't even know Switchgrass was a word until I saw this. The Card Counter. Oh, Oscar Isaac, why? Who directed you to be so uninterested in acting? His character can conjure up a royal flush, but this movie is a royal deuce. Time is up. Anything with the pompous Bella Thorne is not usually bound for any kind of success. Well, meet the movie that's just as pompous and self-important. Time was certainly up for my brain cells. God damn, I hated this one. Number 10. Old. A family takes a vacation to a beautiful, mysterious beach with a bunch of strangers, but unbeknownst to them, the beach is evil magic and makes you age super fast until you die.
Have you seen my children?
Is everyone trying to play a joke on us?
What?
Aren't these your children?
Maybe the Christians were onto something. Maybe we do need Jesus in our lives. I need only to describe one scene to make it clear why this is on my bottom 10 list. 2 6-year-olds. Aged to teenagers. They have sex. Moments later, she gets pregnant. Moments later, she gives birth. You're not mishearing me, and I'm not exaggerating. And moments later, after that birth, the baby dies. Glad we can come together and agree that this is sick!
You treacherous, motherless bitch!
Okay, the only reason this is so low on my list is because it literally never gets any worse. It's one scene, and whether or not you find this to be any better or worse, has very little impact on the story moving forward. As for the rest of it, the writing is a return to M. Night Shyamalan's shitty output years between The Village and The Visit. Though give Last Airbender credit, it doesn't have questionable scenes on the level of this shit! The characters are one-dimensional and pretty freaking stupid, acting that makes a soap opera look legitimate and drags on for way longer than it needs to be. Even the twist at the end feels so damn hammy and childish that I'm not convinced that this isn't an extension of Blumhouse's Fantasy Island movie. Except that shit movie entertained me!
We really don't know what happened.
Well, I think this man had something to do with it.
If I was involved, why would I be standing around, bro? Damn.
I want to praise such talent as Thomasin McKenzie, who has been carving quite a name for herself as one of the more exciting young actors to be rising in the ranks, but she doesn't do much. Thank Christ almighty that she'll go on to do Last Night in Soho.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I can't even talk about the kind of good body horror, all one scene worth, because, let's face it, how can you talk about anything positive after the pregnancy birth thing? Are you over that shit? Because I sure as hell am not. This movie is old and gross, and no one is going to miss it when it's forgotten.
I've studied this. We're all emotionally shaky from our lives. We don't believe we can leave this beach.
Number 9. Cosmic Sin. Humanity comes into contact with its first aliens, and they're not exactly nice. They body snatch people and go on a killing rampage. Only the combined might of Bruce Willis, Frank Grillo, and their team of super cool soldiers can stop them.
You really think you got what it takes to get this job done?
Ask me that again. I dare you.
Super cool soldiers. I can't believe that sentence came out of my mouth. Oh my god, this was painful to sit through. I mean, all the movies on this list were painful, but we're reliving the shitty days. From the get-go, the movie is pretty misleading. We get an oversaturation of text involving a civil war among the 3 main planets that humans have colonized prior to the events of the movie. You might be thinking, great, so it's not exactly a movie about aliens, it's a human-on-human-centric conflict. Nope. All of a sudden, aliens! Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of shit going down, but made into an action movie. Trust me, it's stupider than I'm making it sound. The point I'm making is the lore of the movie, and by saying lore, I feel like I'm offending an entire minority group out there with a racist word, is completely subverted and rendered pointless.
The last time I heard that saying, you used it as an excuse to justify dropping a Q-bomb on 70 million souls.
Even if you wanted to argue that simply not acknowledging aliens in the opening doesn't mean the backstory is useless, then let me tell you the movie as a whole says it's useless because it doesn't truly impact it. Yes, Bruce Willis's character's whole thing is that he's a disgraced general who detonated a super nuclear bomb killing millions of innocent people, but there were so many better ways to get that across that would have kept his whole shtick intact and in theme with the movie about humans versus aliens.
It wasn't.
What?
You wanted to be a soldier more than a husband.
If the backstory didn't make any sense, oh, you bet your sweet bippy that the rest of the movie doesn't make sense. Actually, truth be told, I can't tell you if the rest of the story makes sense because it's so mind-gratingly boring that the dialogue and action scenes might as well have been replaced by the moans of a female hippopotamus in mating season that is clearly not enjoying the small dick she's being penetrated by. The technobabble is far worse than the worst episodes of Star Trek. Scenes just sort of happen, new characters just sort of appear, or reappear in one case, and immediately kill him off after letting us know that he's still alive.
Keep moving. Just keep moving.
By the end of this black hole of piss-poor science fiction, I was left wondering what the hell I even watched. And then I found myself doing research into legal loopholes to sue the filmmakers for mental and emotional damages. But take my word for it. I just watched a fuckshit movie. And I have to live and die with that.
What happened up there between the Vander and this alien force has set this in motion. Operation Cosmic Sin is now a go.
Number 8. Home Sweet Home Alone. Max is a little boy who is annoyed with his family, and they accidentally leave him behind when they go on their Christmas vacation. However, he has to deal with home invaders that are seeking a valuable doll that Max stole from them that's worth a lot of money and might save them from selling their family home.
Whoa. Are you saying your parents left you home alone? Alone? Alone?
Oh, dear God, where to start with this one? Oh, that's easy. Enough with the Home Alone movies! Holy shit, guys! Home Alone 2 is often ridiculed, and most people are kind of surprised to learn that there's even a third one, let alone 6 now! Are they really profitable? Have you really made your money back from this crap? I mean, seriously! This new addition to the ghastly Home Alone franchise, I can't imagine is any better than any entry after the second one. I'm fully aware that Kevin McAllister was a mean-spirited kid, but when taken in conjunction with his mean-spirited family, he doesn't exactly stand out, and his excitement over his missing family makes more sense than it doesn't. Here, Max is a mean-spirited kid who has a loving and reasonably grounded mother in a family that doesn't actively hate him. So he just comes across as a little bastard who needs a good slap in the face. Go back to Nazi Germany, you little shit! Actually, I find this hilariously ironic, as Archie Yates' character in Jojo Rabbit, who was a child Nazi, was an endearingly sweet kid.
I'm gonna go home and see my mother. I need a cuddle. Nothing makes sense anymore. Yeah, I know, it's definitely not a good time to be a Nazi.
Oh god. Can I just talk about Jojo Rabbit instead? I mean, it's such a better movie. I'll even break my rule about not talking about Scarlett Johansson, who is in Home Alone 3, by the way.
Alex slammed the toilet seat down on his thing again.
See what this movie does? It makes you want to talk about other bad Home Alone movies.
When I was a kid, my family went on vacation. We forgot my little brother, Kevin.
If a mean-spirited kid wasn't enough to drive you nuts, then how about the villains? Surely they're cartoonishly evil, right? That would imply that God loves us and we've been abandoned. What's kind of tragic is that this had a potentially interesting idea. Make the Home Alone kid the villain of the movie and the home invaders the good guys. It was practically set up that way to begin with for how much time we spend with the married couple. But the ideas dropped when we learned, oh yeah, it's a Home Alone movie. Adults are Satan. What would the conservative parents of America say if we made a kid evil? Hashtag cancel culture. The point is that you don't really want to see this pair get hurt. They're otherwise nice people. Bad actors in some scenes, but they were kind of likable, kinda. But you spend all that time watching them get hurt, and a resolution that feels so hammy that all you'd be missing is a honey glaze and an appetite.
Now it's retangling.
Go the other way. Turn face.
It's getting more rapid.
Rotate.
You're not helping.
Yes, I am.
It's another Home Alone movie. The franchise should have died off after the second one. What more could be expected? Number 7. Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway. Peter Rabbit is back, or is he? The family goes to the city to find out B's books based on Peter and his rabbit family are such a mega hit that movie adaptations are in the works. However, because of Peter's mischievous ways, he is made out to be a bad seed. Upset over how many agree with this, he runs away and encounters a thieving rabbit who seems to know Peter's late father and gets wrapped up in his biggest heist yet.
Never seen anyone steal something before? You some kind of goody-goody?
I'm no goody-goody. In fact, apparently, I'm bad.
Okay, quick reminder for those not in the know. Beatrix Potter's books have literally been in my life since I was born. The figurines you're looking at, they are in some of my oldest memories. As for the books, I'm not going to pretend I read these on the regular. Hell, I probably haven't even opened half of them in the last 32, coming on 33 years. But Peter Rabbit, I could get amnesia. I might forget my best friend, my first love, but I am never forgetting Peter Rabbit. The first movie was a travesty of epic proportions to me. There was nothing about it that remotely worked and was my most hated movie of 2018. Sadly, the movie was a success, and a sequel was inevitable. Sony loves making money, the gender-discriminatory fucking corporation. Hope that lawsuit sends some of you suits packing. Anyway, this fucking thing. Yeah, it's no better.
You are a great disappointment to your mother and I!
I mean, it's both better and worse than the first one. Better in that the initial shock of an adaptation of a childhood memory being ravaged beyond recognition isn't as shocking this time. but worse in that it's trying to, wink wink, know that it's being unfaithful. I mean, the movie's about a sleazy producer wanting to make a movie on Peter and trying to pitch it as something modernized, hip, and corporate as hell, when that's exactly what this movie is.
If it was ever adapted into some sassy hip fest purely for commercial gain, probably by an American.
Beyond that, the comedy is not at all improved. Some of the laziest involves Peter's siblings, with Cottontail, now voiced by Amy Horn, who replaced Daisy Ridley, is now a sugar addict. And that's it. Flopsy and Mopsy are tired of being treated as a single unit, and one of them keeps trying to be different, including changing her name to Lavatory. Because there's not enough stupid in this movie, let's throw more in.
Lavatory? Yes, and I run on 2 legs now. It's classier.
The story is forgettable, never seems to stay on track, with Peter learning about his father from the thieving rabbit Barnabas. Of course, both Rose Byrne, whom I generally really like, and Domhnall Gleeson are painful to watch, especially Gleeson. If the material was better, I can see David Oyelowo being funny as a corporate sleaze, but the material sucks. So does he, though not from a lack of trying, I guess.
I'm speeding up a little. I'm speeding up quite a bit.
It's your garden variety troublemaker has to learn how to listen to those with his best interests in mind. Basically, half-hour cartoons tackle this better than this 90-minute plus movie. Do I hate it more than the first one? No. But I still fucking hate it.
See? He's had it out for me since the day he got here.
He didn't say that to you. It was to all of us.
I'm talking to you, Peter, specifically.
Number 6. Space Jam: A New Legacy. LeBron James is hard on his son for being more into making his own video games rather than being into basketball. He joins his dad at a business meeting with Warner Brothers to discuss a film deal by promoting new technology that inserts the viewer into the movie itself. LeBron rejects it. This angers Warner Brothers' secret artificial intelligence, Don Cheadle, who came up with the technology and manages to kidnap LeBron's son and trap LeBron in the Warnerverse, where he meets Bugs Bunny. Together they track down the scattered Looney Tunes characters with hopes to challenge Cheadle to a basketball game of LeBron's son's own design.
Have I seen you somewhere? Hey, you're that famous basketball guy. Come on, aren't you LeBron James?
Space Jam. Yeah, okay, it's not a good movie, but as a 90s kid, it might as well have been lightning in a bottle. And it certainly inspired me to try out for a basketball team. So to say that Space Jam was a part of my childhood is a fair thing to say. And then there's this thing. A New Legacy is to Warner Brothers as Emoji Movie is to Sony. In that to call it a movie should be the greatest form of generosity and charity, and Warner as a corporate company owes each and every one of us that actually does it a favor by calling this a movie, owes us a personal favor. Cashing mine in to get rid of the husband abuser from Aquaman 2. You see everything from Superman, Batman, The Matrix, Pennywise from It, Godzilla, Game of Thrones. It's enough to make your goddamn head spin.
That algorithm is busted.
Busted?
It's among the worst ideas I've ever heard. Top 5 easily.
Say what you want about the original, it was simple nonsense. The Toon Squad against the Monstars was a basketball game. You were, for the most part, capable of following the game using real-world metrics. But here's the problem with this one. It's not just a game of basketball. It's an arcade version of basketball. For those of you non-gamers out there, that means it has a bunch of tweaked rules, where there's power-ups, extra points for fancy slam dunks, you get it. By throwing those elements in there, you make the game itself nigh impossible to follow. Half the time, it feels like the rules are being made up as they go. And where's the fun in that?
Style points?
We playing video game rules. Style points, power-ups. See, kids, playing video games do pay off.
Oh, and let's not forget about the optics. While a change to Lola Bunny's outfit isn't unreasonable, it's not done for artistic reasons. It's because the filmmakers were uncomfortable with how sexualized Lola was in the original. Call me crazy, but as a kid, I didn't know that. I just saw a cool female bunny with attitude who was the only character on the Toon Squad that knew how to play basketball. Sure, nowadays I can see it, but not as a negative. Provocatively drawn characters are practically a staple of animation since its advent, from the Disney princesses, Jessica Rabbit, to the grandmother of them all, Betty Boop, whom I guarantee is older than the entire cast and crew of this movie. And what does that say about a man's comfort to see a female body that isn't even real? Get your balls out of your purse, man. It's just a drawing, and your kids likely don't give a shit.
This is LeBron James. How often do you get to play with an NBA superstar?
Been there, done that.
It's painfully unfunny. The villains aren't the least bit memorable. The animation admittedly could have been worse, so they didn't royally screw that up. But beyond all that, it's a messy-ass film, and should have stayed in development hell where it belonged. 20 years of waiting, and this is what we get. Let's take a quick breather and throw out a few more dishonorable mentions for worst sci-fi and comedy. For sci-fi, Voyagers, Lord of the Flies, in space! It's so bad you might as well throw humanity's last hope into the sun. Teenagers suck! Chaos Walking. Tom Holland simps out hard for Daisy Ridley, and it's cringe. You don't need to hear my thoughts to know that. And for comedy, Lady of the Manor. Keep Justin Long away from the director's chair, and keep Judy Greer away from Justin Long movies, damn it! Diary of a Wimpy Kid. A case has been presented to legalize slapping asshole kids. Namaste Wahala. An utterly painful romance film about love at first sight and a whole lot of subplots that I don't give a shit about. Hello Trouble, now fuck right off. Oh boy, the bottom 5. The worst of the worst. I'm gonna need some help with this one. Hello, help. Alright, hit me with it. Number 5. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. Claire Redfield returns to her hometown of Raccoon City to convince her older brother Chris that the Umbrella Corporation, a renowned and popular pharmaceutical company, is actually evil. When Chris is unconvinced and the siblings go their separate ways, Chris and his STARS team investigate a mansion in the woods that has a bunch of zombies. And Claire finds Raccoon City ravaged by a zombie outbreak and must survive.
Welcome home.
This is the reverse of Hellboy 2019. Hellboy was garbage, but it was enjoyable garbage. This is just miserable garbage.
You're tearing me apart!
I do not know how this is even possible. Say what you want about the Mila Jovovich movies, they were so divorced from the source material that I think fans came to understand that they were only Resident Evil in name. It didn't look like Resident Evil, so at a certain point, it didn't need to act like Resident Evil anymore. Making a faithful adaptation should have been gift-wrapped and handed to the filmmakers on a diamond-encrusted golden platter. Instead, what we get is something that occasionally looks like Resident Evil, but regrettably doesn't act like Resident Evil. And I don't know about anyone else, but that feels like a bigger insult than anything Jovovich did.
Hey!
You snooze, you lose.
What? Still a sandwich now.
You get glimpses and nods to the games. Oh, this shot is ripped right from the game. There's that shot too. Hey this, hey that. But what difference does it make if the movie doesn't have the same campy heart to it and became a woke, self-serious mess? Claire Redfield is given way too much importance in this story, being the only real driving force. Of all the characters she encounters, she's the only one that can competently survive. Everyone else is a grade A dumbass. Never thought I'd see the day where Claire would annoy me. And seriously, did it cost too much to put her hair in a ponytail?
The people are getting sick.
Come on, Claire, not again. Shh, you
see.
This applies to pretty much all of the female characters in the movie. Jill, is the more capable survivor at the mansion, and everyone else is stumbling over their own shadows. Not to mention, she's not exactly likable. Wesker is a squirrely bitch boy rather than the pretentious, self-indulgent prick he's supposed to be. Also, apparently, Wesker and Jill are bonking. Why? Just why? Chris is a simp for Jill. Not that this is news for the hentai community, but this isn't at all how their relationship was in the games. Leon is a prototypical new guy who spends his runtime running around asking what's going on.
Sir, what's going on? Because, should we call someone?
Who are you gonna call? You're the police.
Everything just went wrong. I almost feel inspired to watch the Jovovich movies again. Dealing with Sheva in a solo run of Resident Evil 5 is less infuriating than this movie. Dealing with the over-the-top Michael Bay bombastic nonsense that was Resident Evil 6 was easier to tolerate than this. But what hurts the most is that I had high hopes for this. I was thinking to myself, this one's got it right. It got just as much wrong as the previous set of films, except this was promising to be a more faithful recreation of the games. I feel ripped off. I don't want a sequel. I'll stick with the CGI stuff, thank you.
You're probably wondering what a guy like me is doing as a cop, right?
Kinda.
Yeah, me too.
Number 4. Thunder Force. Melissa McCarthy is a loser who reunites with her estranged childhood friend Octavia Spencer, who is a genius. Melissa gets injected with a serum on accident and gets superpowers. They team up to fight Mayor Bobby Cannavale and his cohorts of evil superpowered dudes.
Crap! We're getting off topic! Can you just say Thunder Force? Thunder Force! Thunder Force!
Ooh. I'm not even wasting time on this one. It's another Melissa McCarthy movie where she's making it with her husband. Every annoying thing about their movies can be found here. Just slap on a superhero exoskeleton and that's all it is. Moving on.
You know who Urkel is.
How do you spell that?
You spell it Urkel. Are you kidding? Did I do that? Right?
Number 3. Cherry. Tom Holland is Cherry. He starts off as a nice enough kid, but falls in love with this chick, but it doesn't go well. They get back together, he goes off to join the armed forces, comes back with PTSD, gets into drugs, and life for him and his wife spirals out of control.
We're just supposed to break up, just like that.
Well, we can't exactly be together when we live in 2 different countries, so...
Emily, what the fuck?
At a glance, this should have been a winner. The Russo brothers, Tom Holland, both hot off of the success of Avengers Endgame, and Tom Holland writing the popularity of Spider-Man Far From Home. And on the precipice of the most highly anticipated Spider-Man entry and potentially the final one, Spider-Man No Way Home, this was poised to be the movie that would expand Holland's talents beyond that of the red and blue spider suit. Instead, what we get is far and away the most emotionally brutal film of the year. And not in a way that challenges me or gives me a payoff that was worth waiting for. It just served to do nothing but waste my time and depress me. This movie is nothing more than watching Tom Holland be an unlikable fuckweed for over 2.5 hours. He starts off being a complainer about being in a relationship that doesn't make him happy. When he finds one, he gets possessive of the girl and becomes an emotionally unstable sack of shit who didn't deserve to be in a relationship with that same girl later on. In hindsight, it's wonderful self-reflection of how not well I've handled my past breakups. He goes to the army, or Marines, I already forgot which, and comes home with PTSD. From this point on, it's every movie you've seen that dabbles in these themes. Alcohol, dependency on drugs, not communicating with loved ones, causing rifts in relationships. It's all been done before. Only this time, it's got Spider-Man!
I'm happy, that's all.
Tom.
Jesus, man, I'm on the phone.
Hurry the fuck up.
I'm on the fucking phone, dude.
Oh, it doesn't end there. His bullshit becomes so unbearable that he gets his wife hooked on drugs and their lives start spiraling out of control, damaging their career opportunities. Their own relationship becomes toxic as fuck. Their criminal activities get more and more over the top, culminating in his eventual arrest. But what absolutely kills me is how almost lazily the happy ending is tacked on. In this hour-and-a-half plus flick, which only gets increasingly more infuriating as the minutes go by, the ending lasts a whole goddamn 10 minutes. It's practically a blip on my radar by the time the credits start rolling, and all I walked away with was a hollow, depressed feeling.
The story of being a dope fiend is that you could kill yourself real slow, but you feel like $1 million fucking bucks doing it.
I'm sure this has its defenders out there. Seriously, good for you guys. That's not sarcasm. If you got something out of this, high five. I guess I would be lying if I said that this was an objectively bad movie. It's not, I guess, but I hated it. I really wanted to walk away with something meaningful, but I couldn't. I couldn't give the slightest shit about this.
Sorry about your car, man.
It was a piece of shit.
Number 2. Gully. The story follows 3 teenage boys in a rough neighborhood and discover that one of them is being sexually abused by his own father.
You fucking scared. Fly away, bitch!
This fucking thing. I actually did take a shot, but I didn't hit the record button, so I'm not cheating by getting myself extra drunk. Where to begin with this shit? I'm struggling to find a funny way to roast it. Not that I'm funny. But I did initially write out. It is one of those rare movies where it should be socially acceptable to shit on it. The problem is that implies that this had a positive contribution to the world at large, and I will buy a fucking NFT before I ever compliment a movie with the husband abuser in it.
You got that, you maggot dick motherfucker?
Side note, don't actually buy NFTs, folks. They're not real. And if you don't know what an NFT is, don't research it. It'll melt your brain. Gully is practically the textbook case of how to make a film not worth its weight in art or entertainment. The main 3 teen boys, they're not likable. You know those stereotypical bullies in every teen comedy that's one-dimensional and has no personality other than being light-hearted sociopaths? Imagine that, but they're the main characters and not given an inkling of depth. Sure, one could make the argument. Rough neighborhood tends to make the young grow up faster than they should, but there's a way to portray that in a way that makes the audience empathize with the characters. Give them a shred of humanity. Let us know that they are good people inside, trying to do the right thing, but circumstances force their hands. Personally, I think Moonlight did this perfectly.
Abracadabra, motherfucker.
But this movie is the antithesis of, well, cinema as a whole, but Moonlight. There's no nuance to these kids. They go around, destroy other people's businesses because they didn't want to follow the rules. They ditch school because they think they're too good for it. They do all manner of things that cause problems that no person would approve of except those deranged individuals who partake in those very same activities and consider their actions dismantling the system when they're really just edgelords who have nothing better to do than be a reminder why abortion is a necessity. The places my brain goes when I ride drunk. Thanks, Nicole!
What's so funny? Eat your breakfast.
Even the one character we're supposed to sympathize with, the one abused by his father, it feels like it's there for shock value only, rather than a meaningful part of the story. For all intents and purposes, that should have been what this was about. These kids making plans to get revenge on the man doing these unthinkable things to their friend. And if the focus was on their planning, on their rage, this would have had a better chance. Name the person who couldn't sympathize with their choices, but when you spend more time showing them as menaces to society, it severely waters down their moral ambiguity, and even its impact on the story as a whole. Proper structuring could have solved this, but instead, we get a whole lot of bullshit, and the whole abuse thing is almost trivialized. There's not much more to say about it. The acting is overdramatic, the writing is terrible, the message is really lost in translation, and it just sucks. For all intents and purposes, this is the worst movie of the year. Avoid this like the plague.
Look at me! Look at me! Baby! What did you do?
Before we hit my #1 least favorite movie of the year, here are the last dishonorable mentions for action and horror. For action, Yakuza Princess. Boring, forgettable, makes no sense, can't even put a funny spin on talking shit about it. And for horror, Wrong Turn. Yet another horror flick that exists to throw shock value at the audience with no substance. Make the right turn and avoid this shit. The Reckoning. All it is about a woman getting tortured by a religious dude and may or may not have had sex with the devil. I reckon you have no reason to see this. Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. No next of kin, no next of anything, no thank you, please, piss off with any more Paranormal Activity. And my #1 pick for the worst movie of the year, Earwig and the Witch. From the legendary Japanese animation company Studio Ghibli. The story follows young orphan Earwig, who is adopted by a witch and her demonic partner. But instead of being adopted into a loving home, Earwig is forced into labor to help the witch brew her magical potions.
I want you to bow to me.
Nope. Nope, that is not enough. Sorry. Brings back memories. This was a travesty. On a countless levels, and I'm going to go through them all.
I'm going to kick your butt!
Travesty #1. Cinematically. If you ever see the trailer online, you will see plain as day that this animation is dirt cheap and a butchering of what can be considered art. The animation is gaudy, unlike anything that I've ever seen. Okay, you know what? Let's not be over dramatic here. I have seen just as bad, and hell, I've seen worse. But what cannot be overstated is that this animation comes from Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli! As in Studio motherfucking Ghibli. One of the great all-time animation companies of all time. Yeah, I know how I said it. It's not even phonetically awkward to say it like that. The world gets it. I can repeat saying the same thing. That's how celebrated Studio Ghibli is. They are considered to be one of the... They are considered to be so great that they can go toe-to-toe with Disney and have been considered to be just as great, if not better, than Disney. Reminder, in the 2003 Oscars, Studio Ghibli beat out Disney. And Disney that year had 2 Oscar nominations for Treasure Planet and Lilo and Stitch. And they lost out to Spirited Away. Yeah! Suck it, House of Rat! I've still never seen Spirited Away. I am so mad at myself. I need to change that. Unfortunately, I spent that time watching this. I have regrets, folks. This is one of them. It's not enough that this movie's animation quality is subpar. That can be forgiven. Bear in mind, this was Studio Ghibli's first foray into 3D animation, so I guess one could forgive that. Also, animation quality is not an indication of the story's qualities. So long as you have that down, then I think any rational person can see past the animation itself. But this is Earwig we're talking about, and it's my #1 least favorite flick of 2021. Guess what? It doesn't have a great story. The main protagonist, Earwig, is one of the most unlikable kid characters I've ever seen. Talking down on her fellow orphan friend, telling him he'll never get adopted. No, seriously, what the fuck? In addition to that, she doesn't even seem remotely intelligent, barely tries to escape her servitude, and even tries to make a deal with the witch to teach her magic spells, and spends the entire movie realizing that's never going to happen. It's enough to drive you insane. Barely anything happens anyway. There's gross out humor, a mystery surrounding her late mother and her connection to the witch, but none of it gets any real development until much later. And by then, you've stopped giving a crap and just want it to end.
Quiet. Please, make it stop.
Okay, everyone's got it. It's not the best animation, it doesn't have the best story, and all coming from a legendary animation company. So no wonder it's my least favorite movie of the year, right? It can't possibly get any worse than that. Nope. No, it absolutely gets worse than that. Because of my lack of enthusiasm for the movie, my review for this earned me my very first copyright strike, and my video removed thanks to Studio Ghibli. So that's something I just learned about them. They can't fucking take criticism! Pussy. What amazed me is how swiftly YouTube had my back. I appealed the strike, and in just a few days, both my channel was strike-free and my video was back up and running. This got resolved far faster than I anticipated, so this entire experience has a silver lining. But still, really? Really, Studio Ghibli? This was the hill worth fighting and dying on? This was worth trying to tear down my tiny-ass channel despite my completely legitimate use of fair use? Go fuck yourselves. And as you can imagine, that's why I opted to use screenshots instead, and not even a picosecond of actual clip footage in fear that the same thing would happen again.
Curse you, gadgets. I'll get you next time.
Okay, got it. You know what? I think we're all on the same page. Bad animation, bad story, bad company conduct, if all from a legendary studio, no less. Okay. This all makes sense. Hell, take any one of those reasons, and that would have been enough to make my most hated movie of the year. Okay, we all get it, and it can't possibly get any worse, right? Wrong! Nope. No. Out of everything that I just said, all of it, it's still had one final insult. I'm adopted. And because I was raised in a loving home, raised by parents that I absolutely did not deserve, who absolutely deserved a better son, adoption means something to me. Movies that tackle adoption, and by extension reunification, are movies that, as you can imagine, are ones that I have a vested interest in. If you do them right, you become my favorite movie of all time, or at least among them. Martian Child, Lion, Storks, Instant Family, Anne with an E, all of these do it right. But if you get it wrong, like Father Figures, then prepare for a rage storm. And Earwig and the Witch, unhappily, makes the worst movie I have ever seen. Sure, not every adopted kid was brought into a home that treated them well. Twisted and messed up stories like that do exist. I won't dare pretend they don't. And I should be more understanding that this is intended to be an innocent and harmless magical movie for kids. But the mere depiction of this child, as mean-spirited as she is, being used as a slave, her life constantly threatened by the witch, and making light of it, is way beyond tasteless and abhorrent to me. And the resolution to all of it is soulless, heartless, and leaves me feeling so angry just thinking about it.
All will be sadness. Life will become death.
I can't even muster the energy to stay angry. It goes so far beyond that it almost becomes factual, you know? Like, I'm too angry to be angry, if that makes sense. I couldn't recommend this any less. Please don't watch this, not even out of morbid curiosity. That is time that you will invest and you will never get back. Ew! Okay, that concludes all that. Now we can move on to better things. My top 17 will be next week, hopefully. And, yeah, I'm excited for that one, actually. I'm gonna be drinking champagne, and it's gonna be a fun time. I'm gonna look a lot nicer, too. So anyway, guys, I hope you're staying safe and healthy out there, and hope to see you soon. By God, the room is spinning so fast.